Sunrise video series previewed by breathing exercises within Nadi Shodhana. Oh, but you were just blowing your nose. Let's get into the real comedy, the comedy of a salesperson. Primitive agreed with me that we should do a website. Not we together, but we are technically selling the simplest of technology, which is no, not a sunrise video. No, not something super technical like running a Bitcoin node. We're just going to sell lemonade functionality via something that is Web 1, which is us selling you a website. And the comedy, which is funny on 1,000 levels, is with all the genius of Web 5 and AI and other tech components that may not have been adopted, Claude, the form of AI, the benefit of these things. Did you like the nasal breathe? Even during public speaking, nasal breathing is what I watch for. Grok 3, the 17 days of OpenAI at ACL. These genius things don't get compiled in Microsoft's GitHub. They don't get compiled at Google I/O's Google Plus network, which got shut down. Why would you build a website on someone else's social media platform? That's not a recipe for disaster. That's comedic, because you're going to get ruined when you work super hard, upload those works to Google Plus, canceled. And I'm not talking about personally canceled. I'm talking about the entire project canceled, all the projects shut down and killed. This is Microsoft GitHub also, which is a repository of code. Can you call your website Monkey 9? I think so, because any animal, Duck 9, Rabbit 9, Swan 9, Monkey 9. The comedy of a salesperson is funny, and we can laugh our way to the stripe. Laughing our way all the way to the bank is like building a website on somebody else's property where we don't control the platform. Is this what we're doing on Twitter X? A little bit, back when accounts could be canceled and retracted, because we can profit from this stand-up routine. We can win at money via this video, and since this video is incredibly short, let's jump right into it. If I were to say, oh, you should sell a website to people as a website designer, that would be cliche and mediocre and not great. What if we could sell a website to a person who automatically is going to buy, and then we'll be winning at 5D chess? Is that something that would make you laugh? Oh yeah, this is why. We can do homework for other people and profit. We can actually do other people's math homework as a Chinese cowboy while profiting in a way that is surprising. How and why? This is the example. Let's say a restaurant that you enjoy eating at doesn't have a website. It turns out 50% of the people who are running restaurants don't have a website. We can run one in a website such as the Omni Hotel. It's not that I'm not reading the comments. That's a ADD functionality of immediately pay attention. What a website's doing and the comedy of a salesperson is doing is seeing the attention deficits and winning while other people are having a hard time, not with listening, but having a hard time with experiencing the present time and being present, right? Where the website creation is this. Initially on a piece of paper. Why? Because the structure of a website is comedic. The table of contents is not a complete given. This is what we're learning during Sunrise videos. This is what we're accomplishing by not asking for permission or sales or a deposit so that way we get started. Salespeople in the past have had to ask for commitments. Are we able to get you a commitment on PQRST, on preview question read summarize testing this video? Are we able to get people who dip video to video in trying to multitask where your practice of a website, your practice of a project, your practice of making $1,450 depends upon other people becoming distracted or staying distracted. This is why this tool helps, because AI will not get distracted, even though it sometimes does with hallucinations. AI is meant to have you execute 15 web pages based on this video. AI via Grok 3 is able to come up with 2 to 3 paragraphs on transcripts that unearth and dig up content that is right under the surface. The comedy of a salesperson is the old way that people would have to learn sales skills would be having to cold call or go door to door. Look at a lot of CEOs' stratospheric rise. It came through doing tough sales and tough door-to-door interactions or getting on the phone and asking people for money. What this video is meant to do is have you take baby steps towards selling skills, communication skills, by selling a website for trade. So if I'm asking a restaurant that I go to, hey, do you guys have a website? Would you like to pay me $800? These things are going to be met with pushback, objections. This is the counter methodology and the street smart way that they don't teach you in school, which is, look, instead of paying me money to design you a website, why don't I create a fan website where we, as a consumer of your restaurant, we then say, hey, we'll just do a fan-inspired site. Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club, this applies to Miami and doing 3 things. 1, Osaka World Fair August 10 through 16. Would you like to go for free? Heck yeah, I want a free trip to Japan. I've never been. 2. Miami Art Basel. I know it already sucks or is awesome that you already live in Miami, but the comedy of a salesperson for Art Basel is AI. How can I go to Miami as a Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club for free? 3 is Austin City Limits that coincides with 3 conferences for a massively awesome free vacation, which is 1, the 23 days of OpenAI at ACL. Next is Austin Startup Week, which is October 2 through 11. That dovetails with ComputerShare, which is the DRS Direct Registry. What we're doing here is winning at selling without trolling or getting distracted with, oh, these things are a scam because my brain can't process a YouTube content creator that is selling $0 things that is basically a website respun by this next paragraph, this next one sentence, which is doing websites for people that need a website based on trades. So we're not asking for cash in our first sale. Remember, we're having a fun time here because this is comedy of a salesperson. We're not doing a hard sell. We're not even doing a soft sell. This is stand-up comedy from a Chinese cowboy, and I encourage you, if you just landed, to read the comments of this post while listening to this statement, which is this. We can do trade, barter, swaps as a way to get over the hump of we've never sold one thing. Tech sales higher levels. Oh, would you like to be baited into a $500,000 a year job via this video? That sounds normal to me. But to you, that's going to seem crazy. That's why it's comedy of a salesperson, because I wasn't born persuasive. I wasn't born with perfect English. I had to learn how to speak and walk. And that's the mystery of why don't more people get into tech sales? Why aren't there more female VCs? Well, there's not enough people that are female in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Am I going to encourage you to study bio, chem, physics, or engineering? You pick. What we're doing here is benefiting from baby step tech sales. What's a baby step? Barter, trades, and swaps barter, trades, and swaps for creating a website. Pen and paper magically helps. Why? Because the structure of people's thoughts in flow get distracted. This is how to profit from other people's slow execution, slow to adoption, slow execution. A website. This is how to leverage artificial intelligence. I'm not going to put peer pressure on you to make $2,000 a month by spending $0 per month. That's going to cause too much accountability, and I don't want to have my new friends have to be accountable via a 19-minute Larry Chang video. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is mock people who make fun of people that make $400,000 by saying, oh, CEOs suck. Meh, I don't like how they make so much money. Well, that's paralytic because I'm going to ask, do you have a website? Because a journey of 1,000 web pages starts with one landing page, because that's marketing and sales speak, which is hilarious, on what is a landing page. It's a minimum viable website. It's a landing page within your website. Let me break down why that's so funny. Because when you interact with AI and AI gives you something amazing, such as Larry Chang interacting with Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club, how to get a free vacation to Osaka for World Fair, August 10 through 16, that is lost unless it's recorded for serendipity purposes onto a website. This is like your Google search history, which is archived, by the way. This is just like your Google search history, but for profit. That's why it's funny. And maybe you forgot to laugh because you're like, oh my God, this is a lot of information. What we're doing with a website is documenting our AI practice and helping people who don't have a website to generate new customers, to do lead generation, to do not just one landing page a week, which is a low goal. And it turns out these landing pages are incredibly profitable. Why? Because AI is able to do something surprisingly good. Let me give you an example. What would Jerry Detweiler, Ultimate Credit Handbook, have to say about cell phone number underwriting? When you ask AI incredibly random questions, what you're doing is getting specific results. How do most people use AI? They use AI in a way where they say, I don't even like AI. I don't even like it. You're not supposed to like it. Why don't people like AI? Because it's like talking to a super smart Chinese cowboy that's got an answer for everything. And then you're like, there's no way that he reads all these books. Or worse, this Chinese cowboy, he sounds so smart, it's only because he reads. I'd be smart too if I knew how to read. That's the comedy of a salesperson, is once you start making money, what then happens, or maybe you don't even make money yet as a salesperson. What happens is you barely get your foot in the door, you beg, create, hustle, and execute, so that way you get the lowest tech sales job, which is BDM, Business Development Manager, because the only thing you're managing is your telephone. Hello, would you like to buy some websites? Then what happens once your foot's in the door is you say, I'm barely surviving here. How am I going to ever meet my quota? And your quota ends up being very difficult to reach. What I'm talking about is the comedy of a salesperson, which turns out when you're doing tech sales, all you're training to do is to be a venture capitalist. What's a VC? A venture capitalist. It's just a biz dev person with a portfolio of investments driven by an LP. Let's slow down a little bit and just say, how do I start to be a VC? How do I, is it Do I have to know somebody? This is the counterintuitive truth that is exploding right now, here to here, here to here, here to everywhere, which is, can you sell me this website? It's a joke from Shelby Sapp, who's rich AF as a 23-year-old female, Arizona State University, Shelby Sapp. She also has a YouTube channel you should check out. Sell me this pen. Sell me this Italian coffee, with annoying Instagram I'm rich videos, which are actually somewhat entertaining. And it's even more entertaining since she's gotten a cute boyfriend who's tall and hot, because her outfits post boyfriend, this is the comedy of ASU Masters in Venture Capital, which is, sell me this website. Sell me this pen. Well, this pen's valuable and you need a pen. Will you buy it? This website that I'm selling you, turns out it's magical. Unfortunately, I'm all sold out of websites. And you don't even have the $6,000 cash to buy me a website. What we're going to do is not charge you $6,000 for a website. Why? This is what we're going to do. I'm going to just do this website for you for free in my spare time. The website's called Bro, You Gotta Be ADHD, which I am not, but that's the website that I'm going to do for you. Tell me your name and I'll do your website. In fact, text me at 650-283-8008. Text me and I will do your Bro, You Gotta Be ADHD.com as a website. Is this not hilarious? Because it's tough to discern fact from more facts. It's tough to ascertain whether this is stand-up comedy of the comedy of a salesperson or the best entrepreneurship advice being dished out at Stanford Business School. It's kind of tough to tell the truth from the higher truth of, is this some of the best entrepreneurship education spinning out of the #1 business institution in the United States of America, Y Combinator / Stanford Engineering, via Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, Larry Chang. Hi, I'm Larry Chang. And if Sam Altman and Peter Thiel were hetero and simple, that's what you would get in this video via the website called www.BroYouGottaBeHDHD.com. How are we going to make money? I'm glad that you asked. Am I going to have to invest money? $0. This is how we're going to do it. You see, there's this genius guy. Yeah, we could say Larry Chang, rocking an IQ of 88. I'm doing all of this with an IQ of below 90. Imagine how Silicon Valley VCs feel when I'm literally riding you like a little donkey, not even like a stallion. I'm riding you like you're a Shrek best friend with an IQ under 100 by doing this genius thing, which I will give you for free because I like jokes and I also like helping people, and people sometimes don't like to be helped, but they love to laugh. This is going to be hilarious and profitable. Larry, how are we going to make money? I'm inside of Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club and I don't know what you're talking about. Are these jokes? Yeah, these are jokes, but I'm about to give you $3,000 and I feel tingly in a money tingle. Let's go. www Bro, you got to be ADHD. How does that website make money? I'm glad that you asked that. I'm glad that you asked that because I am not speaking on June 15 or June 16. I'm not speaking. Oh, but how do I make money from that? What if I were to be speaking at Y Combinator AI Startup School? This is what you're getting in advance. This is June 15 and June 16. June 15 and June 16 in San Francisco via Y Combinator. Am I speaking? I am not. We can come up with an agenda for the speakers today, May 22nd. Why? Because this is on tape delay. Thanks. I know, it's an athlete's butt. I didn't mean to show it, but you know what? You got to give the hot girls what they came here for, which is, oh, I was surprised and taken back the fact that you have booty. Focus, because this website's called Bro. You gotta be HDHD. Bro. Bro. You gotta be ADHD.com. June 15 and June 16. I know you didn't write that down because I'm literally handing you $3,000. And I'm laughing because of the accountability and because you don't believe it. But now you've finally begun to pay attention. That's why I'm laughing. You thought it was going to be stand-up comedy where you came to laugh. I'm here to give you money while laughing at you. Cool, right? This is why I kill it at stand-up comedy, because the comedians love me. The genius people love me. Why won't you love me? You will love me because what are the dates? In fact, I'm not going to give you the 3K. I'm just going to move on to another topic if you don't comment the dates that I gave you. And bonus, if you can tell me what the dates mean. Yeah, tell me the dates. Tell me the dates that I said. Tell me the dates to no new topics. Remember, this website's called Bro. You have ADHD. Dub. The dub's important, and the .com is also important. Tell me the dates. I gave you the dates. Tell me the dates. I'm going to move on. I'm literally going to move on, and you're going to lose the 3K. Dub. Bro, you got it. At least you tried. So I'm going to say this one more time, and then it's gone. Because what is going on here during the comedy of a salesperson? This is rapid fire Easter egg laying. This is how I listen to old people. I view everything that an old person says like it's an Easter egg contest, and I'm trying to hunt for $2,800 eggs or a $3,000 egg, or in my case, an expensive knowledge nugget Easter egg. Why? Because old people have genius things, and if they're rich, they'll tell you ways to take money from them. I'm not going to be asking poor people for money, okay? I'm not going to do that. That's what most people do on YouTube. I am having YouTube with zero paywall, zero subscription, zero curtain. Every secret out in the open. So good job with June 15 and June 16. Good job. This is what's going on. We're going to use, did you like the nasal breathe during a rant? Because now you can solve Another person's problem with nasal breathing. That's the next website. This website is www. Bro, you gotta have ADHD. June 15 and June 16. In fact, put that in the comments so that way you don't forget that and win at entrepreneurship, which is use Grok 3 free version, Claude free version, Firebase at Google free version. What is going to be spoken on from these speakers? Most people don't even know the dates, let alone June 4, 15 and 16. They don't even know the dates. They don't know the speakers. And so being able to study math class before math class, that's how Chinese people are kicking your butt in the math class that you stopped taking because you dropped out of community college. That's just true, and that's just funny, right? That's super funny, and it's super true. So the ability to use AI Grok 3, let me give you an example. Elon Musk is going to be speaking in San Francisco June 15 and June 16. You can use AI to guess at what Elon is going to say. You can guess because AI will extrapolate what Elon Musk will say in addition to the 7 other speakers, including Sam Altman. So we can win at charging somebody $3,000. This is how we're going to do it. What if AI could also tell you what Larry Chang would speak on, because the name of the conference for 2 days is Y Combinator AI Startup School, because Sam Altman asked a question nearly 10 years ago to the date of June 15 and June 16. He asked this on September 14, 2015. And so the winning component is this. Winning at entrepreneurship, winning at a YouTube video while asking bad questions such as, Larry, are you bald? This is what women do, which is page 123 of The Rational Male. Because if you're not 5'10", rocking a giant rack while being hot with super blonde hair, you're not able to have ADHD in the level that you do. The solution is you got to visit my mentor's website, www.bro. You got to have ADHD. This website solves your problem, which is you're acting like a 9.5 Miami hot female when you're probably on the opposite end of the spectrum. Remember, this is comedy of a salesperson. And if you're going to come in heckling and saying, oh, I bet you're bald, you're going to get mentally owned, because now for the next 10 days, you won't be able to get this website out of your mind, which is www.bro. You got to have ADHD. This is $3,000. Where are we going to get this $3,000 from? Venture capitalists. They need the information before the information becomes public. Does this sound like Wall Street, the movie that you meme clip but didn't really understand what the plot was? Yes. Wall Street, Trading Places, Eddie Murphy movie. The information of how much will frozen concentrated orange juice cost. This is the comedy of a salesperson. I already know the troll comments that you're going to say, and I have countermeasures. Because remember, my mentor's website is www.bro, you must have ADHD.com. That's the comedy of a salesperson, is being able to do listener train of thought. Exactly. You can't talk like a woman when you're a dude. You can't talk as if you're a hot woman when you're a low SMV male. Temporarily low, but after the comedy of a salesperson, it's going to click, ratchet up, just like Primitive.1, who's like, oh my God, Larry, I know we're both in Miami Bitcoin, but you're right. I should get a website. These rich people will pay you money in Satoshis because they want to give away Satoshis. Why not sell Miami Bitcoin people in Las Vegas May 24 to 28? Is that a set of dates, Larry, similar to June 15 and 16? There's no way it could be this easy. These things are easy to do. These things are actually easier not to do it. Let me repeat. These things are incredibly easy to do because initially we're going to be doing proactive work that nobody asked for. No restaurant owner is asking for a website, or else they would have one already. If we create a website that feeds into Yelp or OpenTable, we're now realizing that there's a VC axiom. There's an entrepreneurship idiom, which is this: never build your mansion on someone else's land that they can reclaim. That's the ability to win. And then when you bring up sexuality into the comments, you're about to get, I'm selecting words here, not happy. You don't want to bring up sexuality in this conversation. You don't. This is the same way that when women begin thinking about fornicating or getting to second base with me, they'll say, oh, I'm not about to sleep with you. What in the world are you talking about? We're talking about selling and the comedy of a salesperson, and you're talking about sex stuff. This is your brain on dark mode. This is your brain on a demon has tried to distract you from happiness and $3,000 under a hat full of winning. Winning on 10 levels of winning. Let's go over some of these small wins. Let's go some of these small wins because females are throwing putty. Thank you for throwing putty. Can we take that sexual energy that you have for trying to sleep with this into monetary energy? Thank you. I appreciate your sexual Hail Mary, okay? I really do appreciate that. But can we be appropriate in the time that we're throwing putty? Because this is a situation where we are focusing on the comedy of a salesperson. I'm about to Easter egg drop 10 Easter eggs. Welcome to comedy of a salesperson. Baby step tech sales, barter, trade, and swaps. Barter, trade, and swaps for website creation without consent. Just like the way that you guys were throwing pussy without my consent via the chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate you appreciating my whatever, face or ass. I don't remember because it's all documented. I consent for you to drop your distraction because the website is www.bro, you must have HDG.com. Swaps barter trades. Creating a website for a restaurant takes you under 30 minutes in a hackathon that would wrap up before you're even done with your fifth course. Why? Because you can use AI to create a website. You can. This is how you're going to be Easter egg picking up the money. What if VCs were to eat at a restaurant for free based on June 15 and June 16, based on May 24 to 29, Las Vegas, Bitcoin, Primitive, the Miami Bitcoin whales, who the Bitcoin conference used to be in Miami. Now it's in Nashville. It was Miami, Nashville, and then Las Vegas. Year 2021, 2022, 2023. Then 2024, also Miami. 25, it's in Las Vegas. The year before Las Vegas was Nashville. How do these things benefit you? You're taking a restaurant and you're saying famous VC people who are vertically specific because you're not yet big enough to get a Robert De Niro to your sushi restaurant, Nobu. Am I telling you also how I'm the co-founder of Nobu Hotel? Accidentally. Remember, this is comedy of a salesperson. And I don't care about your proclivities or your sexual Hail Marys. Even though I'm deeply appreciative of you throwing putty, I am currently in the putty full pattern. So yes, there's a wait list, but let's just focus because this is not sex lead generation. This is website creation. And Larry Chang, how do I sell my first website? This is how. Industry-specific celebrities you do swaps on. Industry-specific semi-celebrities that you wrangle into restaurants. Can you throw in a podcast with that? Yes. Can you use AI to mimic a podcast content? Transcript? Yes. Are you even using AI to have genius things? This is an example. David Hornick visiting Las Vegas Bitcoin, Venetian, second floor restaurant by the spa. Hey, David Hornick, thanks for coming to Las Vegas Bitcoin. Simulating using AI a podcast where you interview Larry Chang, the VC, where your friend interviews David Hornick, where your co-founder interviews Howard Hartenbaum. Larry, I don't know who any of these people are. That's what you're solving, is you don't know how good Howard Hartenbaum and David Hornick are. That's what you're doing on June 15 and June 16, because you only know one person that's going to be speaking at San Francisco YC AI Startup School. There's like 8 speakers, maybe 10. Larry, is this how you met Jeff Bezos? Yes, during YC Startup School. Because remember, you're getting your ass kicked by a dude with an 88 for an IQ while rocking a cowboy hat, while rocking this salad. Like, why would you ever cover up that salad if you had hair that good? Well, this is why. Because I'm asking you the simple question in the IQ 130, 100 plus club, yet somehow still poor. Like, how are you going to MIT, Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and you graduate and you can't find a job? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because I have an IQ of 88 and IDGAF because I'm the co-founder of a website called Bro. Do you have ADHD? This is the example. This is the solution. This is another landing page. Why won't you study the agenda of the speakers that are attending on June 15 and June 16? Why won't you study the agenda? Why do 99% of people who don't get return on investment on spending $5,000 for this conference, why don't they study math class before math class? Why don't they study the agenda of June 15 and June 16? Am I sounding like a broken record? No! I sound like I'm giving you $3,000 that you're going to pick up. Oh, I was thinking it was going to be a little bit more complicated. This is why the bell curve exists, which is the retards are rich, the genius people are rich. The people in the middle are experiencing distraction entrepreneurship, which is why this website that we created during this live session is called www. That's World Wide Web dot. Bro, you must have ADHD. How well assembled is this outline? Because the $3,000, that doesn't come with any strings attached. That $1,450, I sometimes mistake the decimal point all the time, where 3,000 becomes 30 becomes 3 billion, which is windsurf. Manish at 900 Castro. Do you see how Codium morphed into windsurf, which got purchased by OpenAI? Windsurf. 623 West 6th. Why won't you just look up addressees, send people a little bit of fan mail to wrangle in that $3,000? Those things that I just Easter egged, those are in www. Bro, do you have ADHD? That's a side quest specific fork. We're staying on www. Bro, do you have ADHD? Why? Because the website's called www. Bro, do you have ADHD? This is the next component after you look at the agenda. You ask a question. Nasal breathing is good during rants? Yes. Which is, who can benefit from this information? That's it. It could be Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club. It could be Twitter whales. It could be, maybe I should take notes on the Comedy of a Salesperson for May 22nd at Stanford Venture Capital at a party filled with VCs at Stanford VC Capital. Because this information is now new to you. But guess what? Stanford VCs on May 22nd, Thursday, they're not going to prep at all. In fact, they're probably going to show up 15, 20 minutes late and say, what did I Tetris my calendar into this shit for? What am I doing here? Oh, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I just got to put in some FaceTime. That's the comedy of a salesperson, because that's also the comedy of how rich people do biz dev. They just show up and they're so pretty, tall, and dumb, but they sound so good. Is that VCs are basically a C-3PO, the Star Wars robot that's tall, pretty, and is a protocol droid. This is hilarious on 10 levels. Why? Because we want to be R2-D2 to their C-3PO. This is how to make the $3,000. Hey, Stanford VC, May 22nd, do you know about 2 other dates? Because there's really only 4 levels to venture capital. 1, layer 0, LinkedIn. 2, the calendar. Have I been mentioning specific dates for you to pick up money for a website landing page? It's really this easy. Layer 3, which is number 3, which is layer 2. Number 3, which is layer 2. Slap an animal on it and make it slay. That's layer 2 VC number 3. 4 is layer 3, and step 4 is actually also LinkedIn. So these two layers are useless. It's just two layers within venture capital, which is the calendar and slap an animal on it and make it slay. Slap an animal on it and make it slay. Do you want to remember this website's called Bro? Do you have ADHD? Everybody does. And so the starfish is hashtag CMMASFM, the starfish. Celestial Mining Management, accounting software for mining. Chang Mining Management, accounting software for mining. What the starfish causes people to do at a accounting conference is say, hey, why do you have starfish everywhere? Well, I'm asking you, do you know the difference between your asshole and a hole in the ground from an accounting standpoint? What did you say? Do you know the difference between a sinkhole for money and a starfish? Wait. I thought you said you were talking about my butthole. Do you know the difference between your butthole and a hole in the ground? Because that's a popular saying. Do you know the difference between your starfish and her starfish? Because it turns out during anti-gravity, doing accounting, doing Web 5 accounting, it actually explains MNAV. M as in Mary, nav as in navigating. Do you have a problem understanding MNAV? Now they're in because you hooked them with the starfish. That's number 3, layer 2. Am I dropping Easter eggs within this bro? Do you have ADHD? Because I showed you how the attention, interest, decision, action works. Now we're on number 7 all of a sudden because you just got lost in the fire hose of Easter eggs. Let me back up with AIDA before layer 2 of venture capital. Because remember, layer 4 is just layer 0. So there's 4 layers. There's 4 numbers. There's four locations. There's only 2 layers, layer 1 and layer 2 of venture capital. This is the $3,000. This is incredibly easy and simple, but then do you see how it goes simple? Oh, Larry's just going to talk about a website. Oh, I don't need a landing page. All of a sudden, I'm talking about a calendar. That's still simple because I just exposed you to number 2, which is layer 1. Now it's going to get incredibly hilarious, yet also simple, which is you slap an animal on it and then you make it slay. Am I explaining to you how Duck 9 works? Yeah, deeply understood cryptocurrency knowledge, DUCK9. Do you want a Chinese guy coming into your C-level suite at the Venetian during Las Vegas Bitcoin explaining Merkle trees, math problems, because we had to hide Bitcoin and calling it Bitcoin work or proof of work? Do you know what proof of work really is? It's having to do a math computation that's so complex that you need computers to spend hours of processing time just to mine 72 Bitcoin, right? And then what are you going to do with the 72 Bitcoin that you mined? What are you going to do with it? You're going to just spend it? No. You're supposed to save it. That's what we're doing with bro. Do you have ADHD? Which is trying to save as much of the $3,000 that you're about to make as possible. In fact, I would take the $3,000 that you make and blow it all on a hardware wallet and Bitcoin and you should be able to actually retire on that. So you're welcome. AIDA was what I talked about after slap an animal on it and make it slay. So do you remember how I was going to give you 10 Easter eggs? And then these are Easter eggs approximately 6, 7, and 8, and 9. Attention, interest, decision, action. Nobody wants a Chinese guy coming in to any board meeting to talk about numbers. Look at The Big Short. There he is! There's my quant. He's my quantitative. Do you know something different about him? His name is Yang. Look at his eyes. The guy doesn't even get to speak, okay? His name's Andrew. He doesn't even get to talk. He doesn't even get to talk during the meeting. He's just sitting there as a model, a Chinese model who's able to answer your math questions. But guess what? Nobody has math questions. So what do we have to do in order to talk? In order to pitch? In order to sell you, bro, you must have ADHD. This is what you got to bring. Because eventually, we're going to move from the quant side to the deal side. We're going to move from the bad side of the table to the good side of the table. This is layers within layers of comedy and winning, which is now I get to talk, which is what's with the starfish? Well, your starfish tells you, is that your butthole or is that a hole in the ground? Because in Web 5, it's all GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. And when you're doing Satoshis in, Satoshis out, the decimal point goes too far to the right in order for us to properly do US dollar accounting. That's CMM, ASFM. That's attention, interest, decision, action. This is your attention getter. Interest. Are you interested? Yeah. Hot girl throwing putty. You cold open me. Now you redirect because this website's called bro. Do you have ADHD? Thank you for throwing putty. Before I consider your glorious vagina offer, can we first focus and maybe direct some of that sexual energy into learning about MNAV, about Bitcoin torque? Bitcoin torque is the ratio of Bitcoin dollar to US fiat dollar. That's Bitcoin torque. You're so funny. Did you understand anything what I said? Does your company have a problem with US fiat management? That's your web page. Is Bitcoin torque? Do I even need to understand it? That's a landing page, which is why this is comedic, because I just bookended this stand-up comedy routine with, hey, can I sell you a website? I can. I think I just did, because that's a landing page that you should check out, which is Larry Chang, Bitcoin torque. Have I embedded a Steve Chen, Chad Hurley YouTube video on that? I kind of need to, which is why you should check out some of my shorts. You're welcome for the $3,000.